Good morning, I'm Kristen Folletti and welcome to News Desk on SiliconANGLE TV for Wednesday, March 27th, 2013. Yesterday, T-Mobile held their Uncarrier event in New York City, and despite early leaks and rumors, T-Mobile was still able to wow with a few surprises. Join us now to divulge the details on yesterday's big reveals is SiliconANGLE Senior Managing Editor, Kristen Nicole. Good morning, Kristen.
Hey, good morning.
So, Kristen, yesterday we spent some time making predictions about the Uncarrier event. So what can you share with us about yesterday's unveilings? What were some of the highlights?
Some of the highlights would definitely be the new LTE network. That's a big deal for T-Mobile. And the iPhone, of course, that's a big deal for consumers. So good news all around.
We discussed the possibility of the iPhone 5 coming to T-Mobile, and as expected, those rumors turned out to be true. However, although the iPhone handsets for T-Mobile look just like those offered by Verizon, Sprint, and AT&T, they've got some unique attributes. So what can you tell us about these iPhones that makes them different?
Well, there's a couple things that T-Mobile is looking to help differentiate itself from the carrier market here with the iPhone 5 in particular. So far, we know about HD calling, so I believe the technology behind that lets more voice data come in for your calls, so calls are clearer and crisper. And then there's also the support for Wi-Fi calling. So this is very helpful if you're outside of, if you're traveling, maybe overseas, or just in an area where there's low signals. You can accept calls incoming to your phone number, and you can take those calls over Wi-Fi instead of using your minutes.
Now, when will T-Mobile users be able to get their hands on the iPhone 5 in store?
It should launch on April 12th, so a couple of weeks.
You mentioned the unique program that T-Mobile introduced, this Wi-Fi calling. What phones is that currently available on, and when is it going to be available for iPhone, or is it already?
Okay, so they are looking to, as far as we know, I believe there's going to be a handful of handsets that will support this Wi-Fi calling. I believe there's going to be maybe 3 or 4 Android handsets that will have this feature. And for the iPhone, we are also hoping to see this incorporated into their new offerings. They didn't offer too many details about the specifics, when it'll be available, things of that nature. So there's still several questions up in the air as to how this Wi-Fi calling a feature will work for T-Mobile users, but we hope to have those details soon.
Yesterday, we discussed that T-Mobile is currently using HSPA Plus, and that they're going to be rolling out an LTE network. So did they announce any sort of specific plans about the continued rollout of that LTE network?
Well, yesterday, as you mentioned, we got a chance to talk about it, but just before the event, and there were reports of this LTE network already going live in some cities. What we did learn at the event yesterday is T-Mobile does plan on rolling this out for 7 cities in the coming weeks. I anticipate that this will just continue to proliferate across their network, but just a handful of cities to start out with.
Now, there's been a lot of talk about these new carrier option plans and how they're going to save consumers a lot of money. Will buying a T-Mobile iPhone 5 actually save you money versus buying it from another carrier like AT&T?
That is the million-dollar question. It's something that we are investigating, looking at very closely this morning to really draw out the nuances of what this plan offers. What's the catch? Is there a catch? So it does look to be slightly cheaper. So far, it looks to be slightly cheaper than what you'll get from the likes of AT&T in the long run. So with the payment plan for the iPhone 5 and the simplified data plan that they're offering, you could come out a little bit cheaper than if you were to either buy an iPhone 5 outright or go through another carrier.
On our program, Kristen, we've talked a lot about the dilemma of sort of rent not own type devices, where you purchase a device but you're tethered to your carrier, and once the device cycles through, you can't freely move to another carrier. How's T-Mobile addressing that issue differently as a carrier?
Well, they're looking to essentially offer you a payment plan for owning the device outright, and it'll be unlocked once you've completed paying off the phone. So I believe it's somewhere around $20 a month that you'll be paying towards the device. There may be a down payment involved. Sounds an awful lot like a car payment, but it's just the way the world is going. So it's interesting to see how the U.S. carriers handle this as opposed to other places in the world. But I think that this is definitely a step in the right direction. It's a massive frustration for a lot of consumers, including myself, where you feel locked in to a particular carrier. Not to say that lock-in isn't really happening with T-Mobile. You're still kind of tying yourself to the company for an extended period of time. They're packaging it and framing it differently. And how T-Mobile is really going to present this as far as their marketing goes and as far as their presentation and consumer education, I think will actually be the key difference here.
Do you think we'll see more adoption from that type of display from other carriers?
I do believe so. We've seen inklings of this from other carriers, and as I just said, other countries have a wide array of options when it comes to how you are interacting with carriers and what kind of control you have over your device. So I really do think that this will become an important factor for a lot of carriers in the U.S. in particular.
Going back to the event yesterday, what other devices made their debut?
So we did also hear from T-Mobile that they are going to be releasing the S4, the Galaxy S4. And as far as I know, that should be coming out May 1st. So that's certainly good news. I believe they are the first carrier to announce a release date for that device.
Now, did any news come out about an iPad or iPad mini offering?
And no, we did not see any additional details on the iPad offerings.
So how has the initial reaction been to T-Mobile's announcements yesterday?
Gauging from the press, there's a lot of focus still on how this plan is going to play out, how consumers are going to react to it. So I think that'll be very interesting to explore how this is going to really impact consumers, how it's going to affect T-Mobile's position in the market. And is this the excitement over the uncarrier, no contract, while other carriers have offered something similar. T-Mobile is certainly one of the more major networks to take this particular approach across the board. So I think there's a lot of excitement still, a lot of curiosity, and I think there's going to be a lot of details that still need to get fleshed out as far as consumers go. But at the very least, the curiosity that consumers are going to have about this plan should drive a lot of people into T-Mobile stores.
Speaking to the future, what are your predictions for T-Mobile's market position as a carrier this year?
Well, with this repackaging of their services and their offerings and really trying to find a consumer-friendly approach to payment options and simplifying the data plans, I think that T-Mobile is doing the right thing here, at least in terms of their messaging. So I think that this could be a very good development for them, especially considering the woes that they have faced over the past year with failed merger attempts and some of the other obstacles that they've had to overcome. So reinstating themselves as their own network with their own services, really packaging that properly could make all the difference.
Well, Kristen, we really appreciate you taking the time to provide those updates to us this morning. Thanks.
Absolutely. Good to see you.
And coming up on SiliconANGLE TV, one store threatens to charge you for window shopping. Flipboard announces some changes to its app, and minor league baseball team introduces urinal entertainment. Those stories and more are coming up in today's daily roundup on News Desk.